A Senja, ela é bem conhecida agora aqui no Brasil por causa do último concurso Tchaikovsky, mas eu acho que eu já vinha falando dela aqui no Brasil há muito tempo. Acho que desde que eu estive em Helsinki, eu fiquei tão impressionado com ela tocando. Eu me lembro que eu expliquei que devia ser uma sensação como ver a Jaqueline Dupré na sua frente. Totalmente cativante, realmente é um som muito pessoal, uma forma de tocar muito pessoal. Então eu estou bem feliz que ela está aqui com a gente hoje. Eu vou, como sempre, fazer as primeiras perguntas, mas conto com a participação de todos. Acho que o legal da live é isso, a gente poder conversar com todo mundo. A gente poder conversar com gente que talvez em condições normais não seja tão acessível, né? So, Senja, I said that even though now you're well known here in Brazil because of the Tchaikovsky competition, when I came back from Helsinki that time that I heard you, I said, you know, I just heard this wonderful cellist. It's like, I guess that's what felt like listening to Jacqueline Dupré in front of you. She's just superb, you know. And so even before the Tchaikovsky, people knew you in Brazil. And
thank you so much.
So now with the competition, of course, you have so many fans here. You're such an inspiration for the young generation.
Oh, well, that's lovely to hear.
And for us alike. What I want to start with first is that you know, I'm always so impressed with the level of cello playing in Finland. I was just talking to Martti Rossi, and I was asking him, you know, how come there are so many wonderful cellists in Finland? And but then your teacher, your former teacher, Marco Ilonen, who is a fantastic cellist, he hasn't been to Brazil yet, but I would love for you to talk a little bit about Marco and the things that you remember about his teaching and what influenced you the most.
Yes. So I went to study with him when I was 14. So I was very lucky to start with him quite early at the time that I went to the Sibelius Academy youth department. So, and Marco, he was very it was very intense from the beginning, and then it was really I knew that I want to be a professional, and he really for me, and he's very strict with of course technique. I always had to play the etude every lesson, like new etude or twice if it's not good enough. And then the most important thing that I learned from him was the sound, how to take a really nice ring sound from the cello that carries also in the big halls. So we really started already when I was quite young, started this progress with the sound already, like how to produce a big sound in what you can hear in a big hall. And that I think is his greatest thing, that he starts with the sound, and after that it's really possible to make music in a different way somehow, because it all comes from there. And then he really requires big, like, how to say, personal musical ideas, like really a lot. So he really, if you don't do enough, and he somehow always sees that, and he always requires more and more and more. And when you play from your heart really, and with a big full sound and everything, so then maybe sometimes he's even happy for a while. And somehow it was very strict, but also very human. And I mean the combination is somehow was really great for me, and I really developed a lot at the time when I went to study with him. And I think he's an inspiration, of course, and he plays in the lessons. It's always great because he's such a great cellist. So you also learn from that a lot, only to see him do things, and yeah, it was really important thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And
I see.
also,
What
yeah. Mm.
you know,
No, no, just
what I felt very much when you played, when I heard you playing for the first time, was that you had a very personal voice
okay.
when you played the cello. So I guess when you say that Marco always pushed you for that, right?
Yeah, he
It
did.
was
He did.
always exploring your own voice and.
Yeah, yeah, and look for the own voice and somehow how to find it. But it's nice to hear that. I mean, thank you, and of course, and also what I have to say about Marco, that what he teach was always the chamber musical part of the, like every sonata, or if I played a sonata or even a concerto or something, always how to interact with the pianist and other musicians. He's also a great chamber music teacher, and actually I think chamber music professor in Helsinki. So that I also learned very much from him, how to play together and how to find like, especially string quartet. It's quite difficult to find somehow then when you are young and you try to find some voice together. So I think Marco is also with that. It's very chamber musical also, the teaching. So that was also important thing in his teaching, I think. Yeah.
Right. So it's not a it's always about your voice and the big picture of playing, of knowing the music from the
Yeah.
inside, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
never
Yes.
just copying or um, so that's very interesting. And
Yeah.
Senja, the other thing that strikes me in Finland, not only the level of all the cellists
Oh.
I heard there was so high, but
Mm.
they're wonderful composers also, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
we
for
we
sure.
know we know more of Sariaho, of course, and Magnus Lindberg. And but what are
Yes.
your favorites? What do you like playing in Finnish music?
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of music, as you said, and Ariaha and Lindberg. They are great, great composers of our time. Also, of course, Sibelius. That's the main thing somehow, and it's a huge inspiration for, I, I think, for many composers later, and also at the time of Sibelius. So, and he also has a big repertoire also for like some pieces for even the solo cello piece, and then some money pieces with the piano. So those are really beautiful pieces, and also of course chamber music. There's a lot of chamber music, like the string quartet is really great, and of course all the symphonic music, that is the maybe the most known, but of course that's the main Finnish
Mm-hmm.
composer. But also there are a lot of others, like Leevi Madetoja, who was he was like he has a group, for example, this piece for piano and cello is called Lyric Suite. So I think you should check it out, because it's really beautiful piece. And then also, of course, there are some modern composers also, as you said, Sariaho and Lindberg. I also personally like Esa-Pekka Salonen very much. I think
Mm-hmm.
I really like his somehow composing style, and he has also great pieces for cello too, like concertos and also solo repertoire. And then, well, I think those maybe are my favorites to play, but there are also other great composers that I didn't play yet so much, like
Mm-hmm.
Sauli Zinovev is kind of new name. I mean, he's a younger generation composer, and he has already a cello concerto, but I didn't play it yet. But I hope to do it soon. But I think there's a nice culture for composers in Finland. Definitely, many good composers here. Yeah. But what do you think? What do you think about Finnish composer? Which is your favorite?
I always loved Sariaho. And also in my times in New York, I played a piece by Heinenen, which was great piece. Apparently he was the teacher of Sariaho or something. He's from an older generation.
Yes, he was teacher of many composers. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. And I very much enjoyed that. And but I just have the theory looking from the outside that there are so many wonderful composers and the level of cello playing is so high. So there are constantly new good pieces, coming out of Finland. And and it's very interesting for us to follow that repertoire. And and I think it's really a wonderful production of new music. And as you said, the Sibelius, of course, we love the Sibelius symphonies. They are all they're all fantastic. And for some reason, the second symphony used to be played a lot in Rio de Janeiro when I grew up.
Okay. And that's maybe the most famous,
That's wonderful. But the other ones are just wonderful. They're really...
Yes, I think that it's really close to our hearts. Yeah.
Yes.
Definitely.
And Senja, do you now play in the radio orchestra in Helsinki? That's what I've heard.
Actually, it's the Helsinki Philharmonic. So it's the other orchestra that plays also in the same hall than the radio symphony. So same hall, two orchestras. It's the Philharmonic. So yes, I've been there now. Actually, now I had a study break for a year, but now I'm going back in the autumn. And yes, I mean that has also been a great experience for me, learning to play in a professional orchestra and now to be part of it. It's really important thing, and great colleagues and everything. It's for me also orchestra playing has always been a big part of my cello playing and musicianship, how to say. Yeah.
And were you in the orchestra when you went to the competition last year, or?
Yes, actually I was the maybe half a year. I started in November and I stopped end of May, so it came quite fast, actually, the preparation for the competition. I mean, I made a tape for the competition it was in March, and then in May beginning I got, so I really had to start practicing a lot because I was like, I haven't played so much solo lately, but somehow I think in the end it was also a good thing, even if I was a bit stressed, how would it go, but in the end maybe I didn't have time to think about it too much. Somehow it just happened, and so it's totally possible to do this many things at the time, also play solo and chamber music and orchestra at the same time. Of course you have to think about how to spend your time and when to practice and everything, but I think it's possible, totally. Yeah.
And how of course you just said how you prepared and you had to deal with playing in your job and everything. And let's say when you go to the finals of a competition like that, how do you prepare psychologically? Do you have anything special, or?
Yeah. Well, no, not actually. I didn't know that I would be there, but I was of course super happy. But it was quite intense. Of course, I had prepared the pieces, and like Dvorak Concerto, I played it a lot before also, and many years before, and also the Rococo variations. I knew the piece, so it was like somehow I knew it and I felt comfortable. But of course, it comes quite fast when you get to know late in the evening, and already next day rehearsal in this great big hall in St. Petersburg. It was a really wonderful experience. But then there was like 2 days between that I had time to prepare also mentally, and practice a bit and play with the orchestra and get to know somehow the situation. And in the end, it's just like when it happens, you just do it, and somehow the pieces comes from your fingers and everything, and you don't have really time to think about the stressful situation. When I think about it now, I'm like, oh shit, I couldn't do it anymore. but but somehow you just do it when you have the possibility. I mean, it was also a great thing for me, and I was super happy that I got to play there, and yeah, it was really a big experience for me, definitely.
Mhm. Wonderful. And those pieces, the Dvorak and the Rococo, did you play them quite a few times with orchestra before, or?
Yes, I had played Rococo maybe a few years back when I was a bit younger, and Dvorak every now and then. Actually, I somehow got a chance to play it also in the cello competition in Finland in 2014. I think maybe that was the first time that I played with the orchestra, and then now and then I played it a few times. So that somehow I always feel comfortable, and I also love always to get to play the piece, because it's such a great journey to do it. And so I also took the pieces that I really would feel comfortable even in a stressful situation. So that's also important to somehow, maybe for me at least, that not to choose the newest pieces for this kind of huge competition, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, so choosing wisely the pieces is something important for those moments.
I think so, at least for me, because I used to stress sometimes. Yeah.
Right. Senja, now we're starting to have some questions here, which I'll translate to you.
Oh, great.
Dora, who's a cellist, she teaches here in northern Brazil, but she lives in Portugal now for a while.
Oh.
And she's asking, we were talking about composers, and she's asking how important for you was to play new music in your interaction with composers. If that's something that developed your playing, or if you could talk a little bit about that.
Okay, of course. Thanks for the question. Yeah, of course. I think for me to play music of our times, it's really important, and also to get to know some composers, and especially I played, maybe I didn't like play first performance of any cello piece, but I did some chamber music things with my former quartet and this kind of thing. So it's always like interesting progress how to learn a new piece from that you never heard before and no one played it before, and somehow to get to know it. So I think it's really important, and also to get to know new composers, and I don't know how to say, but you have to use somehow differently even your brains to, like, when you put together something with a group or something, it takes a lot of, somehow you have to I don't know, there's a different progress that you start when you haven't heard it before, and then you just start from the really beginning, and somehow in the first you are like, what is happening here, and how is this gonna be possible? But somehow when you get to know it, it can be quite amazing actually. And I always feel that in a concert, finally you realize really something new about it, and then it's also great to perform it again and again, and I think it's really important. And like also in the competition when I went there, I wanted to play something, not something also like modern music and also something Finnish music. So that's why I chose the piece from Salonen. I don't know if you have heard it, but I think it's quite many sides. It has many sides, this piece, and many techniques and many different characters. So I think it was important for me to play that piece, especially because somehow it also shows something else, and you also play something that maybe the audience didn't even hear it before. So, well, that was very complicated.
Yes.
but I mean,
No,
I think it's
you're
really
absolutely right.
important. Yeah.
And the Salonen was a great piece, really.
Yeah, you heard it.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I don't know. I think I was traveling during the competition time, and I arrived in
Yeah.
Natal, and right after you played
Okay.
it, my
Yeah.
student showed me. You know, you have to listen to this piece.
Really?
It's wonderful.
Oh,
Yeah.
great.
So
I'm super happy.
it's really a wonderful piece.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so Cecilia, who is a cellist here from Natal, she's asking about your routine of work and practicing during the Corona times.
Okay.
And if you ever, during the quarantine, at some point felt that you didn't have the same motivation, and if you did, what did you do to keep your motivation going on?
Okay. Great. This is something what I've been thinking about a lot, and I'm sure every musician have somehow think about it a lot. And I have to admit that when was the day that everything got cancelled suddenly, like half a year, like for half a year, every concert got cancelled. I was really disappointed, of course, and I mean, of course, I realized that there is this serious situation that there cannot be huge amounts of people, but still, of course, when you practice something and you do it for a living, of course, it's somehow sad when you cannot suddenly. It's like you cannot do it, and so the first month was quite unmotivated for me. I have to say it was really maybe first 2 weeks I didn't even. I have to say I didn't really play at all, but then I'm super happy that my teacher Jens Peter Mainz in Berlin, he has been teaching this whole time, so he was just telling that okay, he's having lessons if we want, and we can send tapes for we can record ourselves some tape, and then we can send it to him, and then we can have some kind of online session. So then I just decided after some time of doing nothing that okay, now I need it again, and now I really don't like this anymore. That I only watch some series from Netflix and this kind of stuff. So I really, and when I started it after a few weeks, I realized how much actually it makes me happy, and maybe I should have even done it before, but even maybe not too much. I mean, I only did maybe not many hours, but I don't know, even something, even a little bit is good. And for me, maybe like 2 hours is totally fine, and maybe not every day if you don't feel like it. I mean, this is a difficult time, so if you have something more important to think about, you don't have to push yourself too much if you don't really like it. But somehow for me, only to send like audio to my teacher, that was like a reason to do it. And I was thinking about some repertoire that maybe I haven't played before. Of course, some Bach suites. Actually, now I try to practice the fifth suite because I really didn't learn it yet. So I thought about that. Okay, Bach is always a good way to somehow get your mind together, and so I always send my teacher audio, and then we have a lesson. And I mean, it's not always easy, but maybe 2 weeks always good for me, then 2 weeks maybe not so good, and then again, and then not again. So it's a bit difficult, I must say. I don't have a really good routine for that, but now maybe if you wait like every day, try to play a little bit something, and you decide, okay, now I wanna really learn this, because I think these times, if you have to pick a piece that you really love to play or really want to play, because then you will probably do it more probably than if you don't if you don't really want to play something. But I mean, just find your own routine, how to do it and how much is good for you. And I think it's really personal question, and for me, just the lessons are keeping me somehow in shape. And now actually in 2 days I have a small concert for stream. We have this Helsinki Philharmonic chamber music concerts now for like stream. So that's also, of course, when you have this possibility to play sometimes to someone, so maybe then you practice more than yeah, if you don't have. But yeah, it's difficult, I must say. Yeah.
Well, when I started with those live conversations with cellists from different parts of the world, I guess it was a way for especially students and young professionals here in Brazil to be able to listen to different ideas about the cello and music, but also share those situations.
Oh, because, yeah, that's important. Yeah.
Yeah, because Cecilia was asking how many. Actually, she brought up this question in our discussions a few times. How do you keep motivated?
Yeah.
And when you say, well, I feel like that also. It's it's very important that it's a common thing to feel these days, and we are all struggling with that situation.
Yes. Of course, yeah. No, it's important, but I would also say that doing other things that you like for me, like I like to read some books and also watch some movies, and I mean, do also other things. Then you feel at some point you feel like, okay, now I just have to play again, and you really need it at some point. So it's important to do also other things, that all the things you can do at the time, I think. So not too much stress, but yeah, we are all all in the same feeling, I'm sure.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Caio was asked. He's from São Paulo, but he lives here in Natal. Okay. And actually, at the moment, it's his birthday today, and he's far away from his family.
Oh, well,
so
congratulations.
He's well, he said, you're saying about Marco always requested big sound, full sonority when you played. And he says that you have a wonderful, big, and clean sound at the same time.
Okay.
And what are some things that you can advise people for that? How do you search for a sound that is both, full, but at the same time clean?
Okay. Good question. What could I say? Well, at least what I learned from Marco was that somehow, put the bow to the string and then releasing it somehow. Of course, there are some bow exercises that I did first, so I get this flexible bow. How to I keep the bow so as flexible as possible, and then always the releasing is somehow very important, that it's not stuck. So how to explain? Also, I think somehow somehow the left hand is also at the same time relaxed, but at the same time really focused, and so to really pull the string in a relaxed way, so not too stressed somehow. So you always feel like good in your hands and everything. So you are not stressing too much in anywhere. So you really sit back and rely on your somehow body. How to say it? In your body, in your muscles, you rely on them and always try to keep in mind that don't stress about in a neck. And for me, like stressing the neck was a problem for a long time, and maybe still is. So I really have to always keep in mind that I should keep it very relaxed. So like the relaxed way of pulling, like playing into the string and everything, and also the vibration is somehow important, that somehow you don't, it's like it's not too also too stressed, maybe not too slow, not too fast all the time, but it somehow relaxes the sound. It's really I don't know how to explain it, but that's what I learned from at least Marco at the time that I was trying to learn the also the clean but bigger sound, but it's also only requires some maybe some bow exercises, slow, and then really in how to say, really into the string, and then you release it a bit. So this combination of releasing and really getting really into the string, somehow it's difficult to explain, but I think it really starts to work. And also that it's really flexible, the bow hand. It's also possible to just practice like in front of a mirror or something. That's what I did when Marco told me to learn this. Yeah.
I guess it's you're really quite clear. You're saying you have to get inside of the string, but you can't push too hard, otherwise it doesn't resonate.
Yeah. So like first put it and then release, but you have to maybe just slow bows. I don't know. Somehow what I practiced in the beginning was slow and bow that I really was pulling into the string, but somehow after I put it there, then I release it. That's what what Marco was always teaching, and then I think that's a good way to somehow do it. But of course, we have different ways of doing good things. So whatever is good for you. But that was what I learned from him, and I felt it's really working. Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Caleb, who comes from the Amazon forest. No, I'm kidding. He comes from the Amazon, but it's a big city.
Yeah.
He says, which was the hardest round for you in the competition? Which one you felt more nervous or you struggled more?
Okay, good question. Actually, usually it's the first round that it's the most difficult, but actually now for me somehow the second round was somehow the most difficult, maybe because it was very late when was the result from the first round, so it was like maybe 1 o'clock that we went to the hotel again, and next day at 1 I had my second round, so maybe it was just like it was like not so much time in between, and I really didn't have so much time to think about it. Oh, I'm really gonna play. So I just went to sleep really stressed, and then I woke up and went to the hall and tried to practice something, and so it was quite fast. But so maybe that's why the second round was the most difficult. But I mean, I still there was my favorite things, like playing the Martin sonata was really I really enjoyed it a lot, and I had a great pianist there, and I think that also if I was stressed, but also I had some nice nice things there that I remember. But yeah, for me this time second round, but usually maybe the first round is the most difficult. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And did you get lots of rehearsal time with the pianist, or?
Yeah, I think we had enough. Like, I'm many people had their own pianist with them, but I just played with a pianist from the competition, and I was really happy that I did it because I really love to play with her, and I would like to play with her again. And we really, I mean, she was a great. I mean, she's a great great pianist and great human being, and we really somehow I felt that we like to play together, and so I was super happy that I, I was gonna play with the pianist from the competition, and we got some time, maybe two rehearsals before every round, maybe even one before the first round, and maybe some kind of general. And before the second round, we played maybe two times, so it
Okay.
was enough. Yeah, but I mean the like the
Uh-huh.
Martinu and Shostakovich, these pieces really difficult for the pianist. So I mean she was great because she played these pieces and so well, and it was somehow easy to put it together. So it was really a lot of fun. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now it's actually another question that I have.
Mm,
You know, Finnish school education is recognized to be really excellent.
mhm, mhm,
And I had a feeling that most of the musicians that I talked to in Finland, they had a very broad knowledge, um, not only of, music, but
mhm.
you said now in the quarantine, let's read books or watch movies and sometimes cellists, they get so into just really playing their repertoire and,
Mhm. Yeah.
focusing on cello only.
Mhm.
I guess that might have been more natural for you because of the Finnish education, but how
I don't
how
know.
do you, how
Yeah.
important do you think that it is to have a broader sense of the arts and of reading or how does that affect your performance? That's maybe the question.
Yeah. Well, it's of course it's like every people in this also every people are different, so it's hard to tell. But at least for me, I mean, I'm just more happy maybe and not so stressed if I also do other things, and I get also inspiration from other things. It could be going to. I really like to go to the museums. If I visit some new place, I always try to find a nice museum to go to, and I like to read, and I like to watch movies and also series. Sometimes too much, also, but and also, of course, most importantly, doing. I mean, spending time with people you love, and of course, that's the most important thing. I think
Hmm.
that, at least for me, it somehow gives this not so that I'm not in this stressful mind all the time, because sometimes I can get to it, and especially when there's some big competition coming up or something, you only do that, and that's the only thing you really think about, and so so for me it's sometimes good to somehow clear the mind, or like doing something else too, and it somehow relaxes, and also you get some inspiration. So but it differs from the people, and maybe I should do practicing all the time and not do other things. But I mean, for me, I think I'm just more happier when doing different kind of things. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, makes all the sense. And
Yeah.
actually, you just answered half of the next
Ah,
question, but
okay.
with this answer, but they're asking about who are your major influences as a cellist. Of course, you spoke of Marco already, and you're studying now with Jens Peter Mainz. But
Yes.
which cellists you like to listen, and who are your references?
Yeah. Well, of course, these two that already mentioned, of course, and but also plus to that, also my previous teacher that I studied in Oslo for some time. It was a short period, but really inspiring. Truls Merk, he's really one of my favorites, and also, well, I don't know if you listened, but Yo-Yo Ma played this Bach suites like maybe
I know.
2 days ago. Oh,
Yes.
but Yo-Yo, of course, Yo-Yo Ma. I mean, he's really a great inspiration, like somehow in every way. But so of course him, and also Jean-Guyen Keras. I really enjoy him. And, but there are many, and of course the older like Rosbovich and Jacqueline Dupré. Of course, those are two. I mean, but from cellists nowadays, maybe those are some names. But it has been also a great privilege for me to study with great players themselves that I really always got to know very close how they do it in a small room, and I think it's, for me, it has been a really big influence. But well, only few names. There are so many great cellists nowadays that it's impossible to say. I mean, all are great, but those, of course, there are a few names that I really adore. Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, you know that in the 70s and 80s, Arton Horas was very much loved in Brazil.
Oh,
Yes,
yeah, great.
And I hear that he's still playing at his prime. He's still.
I heard Martti actually told me that he's practicing like 8 hours every day. Yeah, I could learn from him a lot, I think. Did you meet him?
No, unfortunately not. But
not
my
yet,
my teachers used to say that they liked him very much in Rio. I guess he went there to play.
Yeah.
And also, I heard from him by Italo Babini, who is Aldo Pariso's half brother.
Oh, okay.
And apparently in the 70s, Italo went to Helsinki to play, and Arton Horas came to Detroit, where he was principal cellist. So
okay.
He had, and Leticia, she's asking what about Finnish folk music? If you ever, got to interact with the wonderful Finnish folk musicians, or if you could say a few words about that.
Oh yeah, sure. That's an interesting question. Yes, of course. Yeah, of course, the folk music is important. I mean, of course, for all the composers too. I'm sure that Sibelius and all the composers got some big influence from folk music, and there's a big folk music tradition in Finland. Like maybe every country has their own traditions, and in Finland it's mostly melancholic small pieces, and really many pieces are somehow based on this Kalevala, that is somehow the base of Finnish culture, how everything how the world was made and everything. So I maybe didn't do so much actually, like cooperations with any folk musicians, or maybe even with the cello, not so much, but more by like singing. And when I was small, we had this what is it called in English? In Finnish, it's kantele. that is this kind of folk
Kantele, sure.
instrument. Yeah. It kantele. Yeah. So it is it has only 5 strings, because I know that the bigger one is really difficult to play and everything. But we have this 5-string kantele. So that I mean, at least when I was small, we played this kantele like in some music play school or something, and sang some songs. And I think also that was, I mean, that somehow that carries every now and then. And I don't know how to explain it, but Finnish folk music may be quite, melancholic and but very beautiful, and I think it has influenced, of course, many composers, and maybe that's a good idea. I mean, to do it also more with cello, because I really didn't do it so much with cello, but only when I was smaller and by singing and playing this music. But of course, sometimes you get to do some nice things, but it's a good idea actually to connect with some folk musicians. Yeah.
And one of the wonderful things I think about the Sibelius Academy is that there is a very strong folk music department also, right?
Yeah. Yes, there is. Yeah. There is. So I mean, it could be great. Somehow we didn't so much cooperate with we only played the cello and chamber music with classical musicians, but somehow, maybe it could be more. It's good idea.
Senja, there is a group of young cellists in São Paulo, and they are starting this internet movement of interviewing people and translating things to Portuguese. And they have a question here, Cello in Pauta. They are asking if you could talk about the social media like Instagram or Facebook, and for the new generation, what kind of good things could come out of these possibilities that didn't happen in the past?
Yes. Well, social media is it's very I think it's a great thing, and also nowadays quite important. And it's great that at these kind of times that suddenly everything is cancelled, this is still possible, and people are playing videos and interacting with each others, and so there are really great possibilities. And I mean, for me personally, it's somehow very difficult, because I don't know, I also stress about that too much sometimes, that should I do something, and should I do more, maybe should I post more, or should I do this and this and this, and then I don't maybe do anything, because I'm like, oh no, I cannot and I should do better, and no, this is not good enough and everything. So if you enjoy it, I mean, do it, because it's great that there are people who really do it, and there are a lot to learn. Like, and now of course there have been so many great ideas. People are even playing some chamber music together through cameras or something. I mean, I didn't try it yet, but I mean, that's something quite interesting. I would like to try, definitely. And I mean, streaming a concert these times, it must be really somehow important, because of course music is somehow important in these times, and comforting people for sure. So so there are a lot of possibilities, and people are really doing a lot and inventing more and more. So I don't know, I'm maybe not the best person to talk about this, because for me, I'm not so good at in social media things. I only follow some interesting things, and maybe sometimes post something, but it's really it's really like, I don't know, I'm not so good at it, but I should learn from him. But I mean, when it's are they doing some kind of some kind of social media thing? What kind of is that?
Yeah, they're interviewing people.
Okay.
I know that last week they interviewed Slatomir, and then they translate to Portuguese because let's say our conversation, most people can understand, but a few can't really.
Oh,
and let's say
I
think one of the very nice things of let's say you said about Yo-Yo that he just played the Bach and we could follow. Or I guess when you played beautifully in the Tchaikovsky and we could watch from Brazil, this is
something very special. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, this is, and connect us in a way that we didn't think before. I guess I'm learning a lot during this quarantine because I didn't know much about it also of Instagram.
Oh, but you're doing great.
But it has been a nice experience.
Yeah, I mean, what a great idea. Yeah. But really, what you're, but really what Yo-Yo did was something really beautiful. But he like committed the concert to people who was passed away during this pandemic and everything. I think that was like the most great thing to do, that it was really like we all felt that okay, this is something special. So it was really touching, and he played all the suites, something really amazing and really deep impact for us all, I'm sure. So it's really a great way, and that was something amazing. And
and actually one of the students here from Natal just said that they watched the finals of the competition. They were cheering more than in the World Cup, so that means a lot. The soccer World Cup, so that means a lot.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm super happy. Thank you. Wonderful.
And Senja, so I was talking when I spoke to Marty Rossi. I said that I was hoping that one day we have his cello festival here in Brazil, in Penedo, which is a Finnish city. Here, it's very interesting. All the names of the streets are Finnish. The restaurants, it's a Finnish colony from 100 years ago. And
I didn't know that. I'm so sorry. We're so interesting.
Yeah, you of course, Marty, Marco, you, Hanno. I always said to everybody in Brazil how well received I was in Finland, and of course by the teachers, they were all so nice, Marco, Hanno, and Marty. And you and Klaus and Jonathan and Leonardo, I remember all the names because it was such a wonderful. And Valerio, of course, who is more than wonderful.
Yeah, she's great.
So
nice. But that would be wonderful. Yeah.
Yes, we have to plan that, and we have to speak to our dear friend Tuovi Martinsen also, because she has been helping a lot with the connection between Brazil and Finland.
Great.
But Senja, thanks so much for today. It was very inspiring for us.
Thank you for asking. It was really nice to see you after a long time.
Yeah, very good to see you also. And yes, so you have many fans here amongst the young professionals, young cellists, and so you have to come to Brazil sometime soon.
I really would like to, and I'm really happy that you all watched, and it was really a pleasure. Yeah.
Okay, then. Thank you very much, Kitos, and
Kitos.
Thank you so much, Senja.
Thank you, and stay healthy and everything. Bye.
Bye-bye.